Welcome to our recorded poster, Entering Through Their Door, Perspectives on Cultivating a Just Society Through the Moral and Spiritual Formation of Professional and Continuing Education Students at Jesuit Universities. My colleague, Professor Kathleen Hidy, Legal Studies Assistant Professor at Xavier University, and myself, Jamie Kralovec, Associate Director of Mission Integration and an instructor at Georgetown's School of Continuing Studies, are delighted to have you at our presentation. What brought Professor Hidy and I together, each of us who teach professional students in our Jesuit colleges and universities, is this question asked in the characteristics document by the Association of Jesuit Colleges and Universities. Are we, in our professional schools, joining professional technical training with the personal and moral formation of our students as persons rooted in the Catholic Jesuit tradition? In a particular way, are we pursuing this formation with an eye to the social justice education needs of today? Part of what brought Professor Hidy and I together is a recognition that there's more to be done. There is a modus to be realized if we fully commit to this answer. But in order to commit to this answer, we have to pay special attention to who our students are. And obviously, professional students span the spectrum of age and institutional unit. There are professional students learning at the undergraduate level, and there's a large and growing segment of professional students who fall into the category of adult learners. That growing segment of students partly animates our presentation today. And what do adult learners relative to traditional undergrads need in their learning? Here's a snapshot from decades of adult learning theory put together by Jana Oakes in an article in Jesuit Higher Education, a journal. Adults, relative to younger students, need self-direction in their learning, motivation to learn driven by internal motivation and not external, and an embrace of technology and life experience. So with these needs of adult learners in mind, Professor Hidy and I are going to share two examples of curricular innovations that we've led that respond in part to the question from the AJCU. Here's a course that I created and designed at Georgetown School of Continuing Studies. It's a course available to any degree-seeking student in the school who desires to have a community-based learning experience of the social justice tradition of the Jesuits. The course welcomes students from across the professional disciplines, and it is motivated by teaching methods deeply rooted in Ignatian spirituality, including regular reflection assignments, regular examen meditations in the structure of the course, and presentations by guests, those who have mission responsibilities at Georgetown and beyond, and who lead lives of social justice. I'm now going to pass it off to my colleague, Professor Hidy.
Thank you, Professor Kralovec. The classical understanding of a just society involves questions about constructing a life that is good, seeking the common good, and pursuing that which is good or virtuous, both individually and collectively. Our actions are inherently moral and relational, and we are moral actors in a relational world. For Jesuit institutions of higher education, which are mission-driven institutions, this conception of justice can build pedagogical and curricular windows into the Ignatian tradition that ultimately leads to the transformation of students and the transformation of society. At the core of Jesuit institutions is a radical claim about the purpose of Jesuit education, which is to transform students who in turn go out and transform society. Professional education at Jesuit colleges and universities is not exempted from this radical claim. To the contrary, Jesuit education of professionals should be a vehicle for the transformation of these professionals into moral actors and moral agents within their professions. These institutions have a unique opportunity and special responsibility in the educational landscape of law, medicine, business, engineering, to ground professional training in moral formation, character training, and ethics. Jesuit professional schools become, in this way, a moral incubator of ethics and virtue. The A, B, C, and D of this ethical and moral training of professionals is to awaken, broaden, cultivate, and deepen. Jesuit professional education should awaken in a student her ability to apprehend and appreciate ethical and moral issues that arise in her professional pursuits. This educational approach should broaden a professional's students' knowledge of ethical and moral frameworks that apply to these dilemmas. It should also cultivate the professional student's will to become a change agent for ethical and moral outcomes in her professional pursuits. And Jesuit professional education should deepen a professional student's sense of belonging to a community committed to pursuing ethical outcomes in professional pursuits. This professional training cultivates the moral sensibility of students and empowers them to act on this sensibility in their professional endeavors. To do this requires a culture at Jesuit universities and colleges that reflects this vision. Culture building is an art form, not an agenda item. It requires leaders who are persons of vision and passion and persuasion. Think St. Ignatius. It requires faculty who seek to inculcate in their students both the rigors of their professional disciplines and the desire to respond morally to a problem arising from that discipline. And it requires students who embrace the ethos of moral formation as part of their professional training. The work of moral formation in professional education at Jesuit institutions involves creativity, imagination, resource allocation, leadership, and risk.
Thank you.